really likes is how do you format the first letter of a paragraph. Have you ever seen, like on Moby Dick, they call me Ishmael, and the T at the very beginning of that paragraph is this huge T, and then right after it says they, H-E-Y for they. So they call me Ishmael. Well, all you need to do in order to do this is to come over here to anywhere in the paragraph of the text. So here's a paragraph, so I can click anywhere in here. And what I can do is come up here under the Insert, Drop Cap. Now when I select this, it shows you. You can create a large capital letter at the beginning of a paragraph. Now you have some different ways to do it. You have none. You can do dropped, which means it actually displaces the first 3 lines of the paragraph. All the text will then follow in behind. You can do it where it's now in the margin, which now it moves over past the margins and puts the B there, and so now it's in the margin here. So if I start typing in some more text here, so we'll say below you find the sales results of the third quarter. We hope that you find these results to be satisfactory. Now see how in this case the format has it in the margin, and so the text keeps coming down. Now if I click on this and I want to change the way that this appears, you simply come up to the drop caps. Notice it says an in margin, and now when I say dropped, it brings it in. It's now within the same exact the margins that are in there. So now it's not outside. And so now if you keep typing and you add more text to this, you'll eventually find out. You will eventually find out that it moves underneath. Now what I'm going to do is just to, instead of sitting here and have me type it, I'm going to pause for just a second, type some, and then you'll see how it appears down below. Alright, so now you can see why I paused, and so that way you didn't have to sit here and watch me type. So I went ahead and typed some more text here, and it says, you'll eventually find out that it moves underneath. Text is great when you can type it while the Nugget video is being paused. I bet you wish you could type this fast to show what the sales results will be, or talk as fast as I do. So now you can see with the not in the margin, but actually when we do the dropped, what it does is it drops for the first 3 lines. It replaces the first part of it, makes a nice B, but then once you get past those 3 lines, it then actually comes down in and it moves over. And so this is kind of a neat effect. You do know, you can say this easily, you do need to know how to do this if you are going to take the Microsoft exam. So we thought we'd show you that. This is one of those little quirky ones that when I saw it, I was like, okay, good thing I know how to do this, but you might have missed it. This is called drop cap or dropped capital, and it's a really way to give a document a really finished professional look. So many people will say, well, Chris, that was great, and I got to see all that I needed to learn about with auto shapes and the things that we're going to do with that. I also got to see how I can take word art, take text and manipulate it and add 3D drop effects to it. And we also even gave you that exam tip on drop caps. Just understand one thing though. Anytime you're utilizing auto shapes and word art is typically when you need to get a document ready that needs to be done quickly, and you'll just want to add some visual pizzazz to it. My recommendation is always, in the real world, if you have time, take the time to go to Photoshop or Illustrator or ask your graphic person to kind of help you out and create something. But maybe you don't have access to that. That's why knowing how to use the graphic capabilities of Word is really going to help you out. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing. Microsoft Word 2007 diagrams. Well, we're going to move past the standard clip art and pictures and photos into the realm of more of your business professional graphics. And the way that we're going to be able to create these incredible diagrams is something called SmartArt. When you're talking about diagrams in Word 2007, you're going to be talking about SmartArt. SmartArt, as you see across the realm of all of the Office 2007 products, is how you design all these cool diagrams. We'll also see how we modify these diagrams and use something called the text pane to get some little interesting editing features that I think are pretty cool. So let's open up our Acme organization, And let's say that you want to be able to give new employees of Acme Musical Instruments a sheet that kind of shows who the organization is made up of. I mean, I just simply typed this up here real quick and, added a few things here. We can see that we have the title of our company, the organization and staff, everything from Dan, who's the CEO, all the way down to Mike Shannon, who's our resident composer. And it's all listed right here, but I could look at this and I have no idea who reports to who do you talk to, those type of things. And that's what org charts are really good. Now, those are just one type of diagram. So just by showing you the org chart, we're also going to show you how you can make a whole bunch of other diagrams as well. Now, when you add a diagram to a document, you need to, by the way, for exam purposes, if you are going to take this for a Microsoft Office user specialist, you need to be able to add the diagram. You also need to be able to reposition it, change the look and feel, and do a few other things. So throughout this, you are going to learn what you need to do if you are going to take the exam. But at the same time, I mean, come on, let's face it, we're all business guys and gals, and we want to be able to make really snazzy looking documents that we can hand off to people, whether electronically or in print. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and add a organizational hierarchy to this document. So what I'm going to do is obviously come up here to Insert, and then now, in the old days, in Office 2003, you had, of course, Insert Chart Diagram. Well, we can see the chart, which we'll see here in just a little bit, but here in SmartArt is where we now find all of the Venn diagrams, the org charts, all those cool things. So when we click on it, it's going to bring up our dialog box saying, okay, what kind of SmartArt graphic do you want to be able to do? Well, the nice thing is these tools, by the way, if you take Emily's Excel 2007, my Outlook 2007, and PowerPoint 2007 series, you're going to find that these SmartArt graphics are the bomb. This is how you create dynamic, visually appealing diagrams. And there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. If you notice right here, it starts off with just saying, do you want all of them? Every single SmartArt graphic, and it'll just place them all here. Or you can be more specific. For example, you can take a look at list diagrams. These are going to be any lists of related or independent information, maybe something you need to do to complete a task, or a list of pictures. You then have process diagrams. These are going to give you ordered set of steps required to complete a task. In other words, maybe how do you complete a sales order, or how to create a manufacturing job lot, things like that. Next you see is the cycle diagrams, and these are going to be a circular sequence of steps or tasks. These are kind of things like, what's the life cycle of producing a musical instrument? That might be something you might want to use. Hierarchy, which we're going to see here in a second, is where we get our org charts. This is also where you can show the hierarchy of maybe the management structure, as well as what type of, you could have tubas. Well, underneath your tubas you have marching euphoniums, and then you also have your concert tubas, BB flat tubas. So you can have a hierarchy of how sales are put together. Then you got relationship diagrams. These are going to be things like your Venn diagrams, anything that has to do with relationships. For maybe you want to show how similar methods can organize email, calendar, and contacts, how you merge or contain elements. We also have, of course, your matrix diagrams, which no is not describing how Neo and Morpheus, battle their way against the machines. It is instead just a kind of way to see your grouped blocks of information all put together. Product teams in a department, maybe, might be a good example. And then, of course, the infamous pyramid diagrams. These are going to see any proportional or interconnected relationships that you might have. Good example for this, like a basic pyramid, would be like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you ever took your psychology class, you remember how at the bottom is, of course, you need the physiological things. In other words, water, air, food, things like that, you need to meet those needs first. Well, what's the next one up above that? Well, then it's security and stability, and then above that is social, where if you ever watched the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, you remember after he got fire and food, he needed a friend, and he found that little volleyball named Wilson, and remember he talked to him. He needed social interaction. Well, you could show a basic pyramid. Maybe you were doing a book report or a film review, and you could show what Maslow's hierarchy of needs are. Okay, so we just kind of gave you a nice overview of the SmartArt graphics. Again, you can use these in any Office 2007 product, and if you check out Emily's or my other Office products, you're going to see us talking about them again. So we're going to go to hierarchy because we want to show this org chart we have in place. So the first thing you're going to do is come up here, and we're going to pick the org chart. Now understand, you have other hierarchy charts. You have standard hierarchies, you have labeled hierarchies, where if I did this, I could show where this is the senior management, this is middle management, and this is the worker bees, and you could label each one of these as the different layers of that, or you can even change it for a horizontal. Some people don't like it going vertical, they like it horizontal. You can do different things. We'll stick with the standard org chart. This is pretty simple. You also have the ability to break out assistants and other things. So I select this, and when I click OK, it's going to go ahead and give me a standard org chart with number one, your top, your parent or root node up here. Then it shows you one assistant node and then 3 subordinate nodes. Now these are all just standard. Now can we change this? Absolutely. That's what we're going to do. We're going to modify this. So once we've selected this out, it's going to be put in right at our insertion point. Now I put it right after Mike asks resident composer. We'll show you a little bit later how we can move it over here to the side and do some kind of cool things with that. Now with this, you will notice that all I need to do to type in text is I can select the box and select inside it, or check this out. Up here on the Create Graphics here, remember, we've done something, we've added something new, and in Word 2007 and Office 2007, I now have a new tab here on my ribbon for SmartArt tools. I've got Design, and then I've got Format, which we'll see here in just a minute. Now to the Design over here, you'll see under Create Graphic, I can do a text pane, which, as they like to say, it helps you quickly input and organize the text in a SmartArt graphic. Great. If I click on it, you'll notice that this shows up over here on the side. And whatever you're selecting, you can now type in here, and we can say, well, who's the head honcho? Well, that's Dan, of course. So we put in Dan CEO. Okay? So now Dan is now the CEO, and we see him right there. Now, look. Down here, we can see the little assistant. Well, who would be considered an assistant of the CEO? Well, one of the other COOs or the CTOs. Now, remember, I had James Conrad as the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. So when I select here under the type text, I can come over here and I can put James COO. So now he is the CEO. So we got that. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. If I come back here and I'll go ahead and close this, you can close it, or you can click on the org chart itself with the organization here. So let's go ahead and close it. I can come up here and I see, well, wait a minute. There's another assistant necessary. That's Jeremy. He's the CTO. So I've seen how I type in the text. That's great. Well, what you do is you select the object you want to create a new shape or object off of. In this case, I need to create a new assistant for Dan as the CEO. I've already got James. I want to create the Chief Technical Officer, who's going to be Jeremy Chara, Cisco Instructor Extraordinaire. So I go up here and I click on Add Shape, and I get a couple of choices that I can do. I can add shape after, where if you notice, it's going to add it after the selected shape. So if I click on it, you'll notice that it just says, oh, do you want it just over here? So I can now create a sub organizational chart based off of what I have here. So I can do that. So let's go ahead and delete that one. Come back here to Dan. If I want to, I can add it before. Guess where it's going to go? Yeah, you got it. It's going to be over here before this. So you can create, maybe if you want, it just depends on how you want to create your org chart. Maybe you want the CEO, and all the chief operating officers, the big guns, up on one line. Well, you can do that by using that add shape before and after. Now, you, of course, once I select Dan here, I can click add shape, and it will add it above. Let's say that Dan has decided to step down as CEO and he wants to be chairman in residence, kind of like what, I forget how Steve Jobs did it with Apple, but, he's not really the big boss, but yet he's still the boss kind of thing. Visionary, lead visionary, something like that. I don't know. Maybe Dan wants to be the lead visionary now of Acme Music Instruments. So you can add it above, or we could add it below, which means that they would be a direct report to Dan. Then you, of course, have the assistants. Now this is where we said, well, the way we set up the hierarchy is that the COO and the CTO are assistants.